Sign up for membership on theyoungturks.com and get the whole 3-hour show plus an uncensored postgame. Welcome to the Young Turks. Fun and exciting show ahead for you guys as usual. You knew they'd come. You knew that the right-wingers would come after Muslims again. And they have. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Also on today's show, 3 different things that I was totally right about. Not a big deal, but we've got to share it with you. I have to share it with you. What can I do? All right, so that's coming up in a little bit. And then we have a very controversial story from Taiwan, I believe, we're going to discuss in the third hour. You like racial controversies? Apparently we do, because we do a lot of those. I know, they're fascinating. So we got another one for you in the third hour. So Bulgaria, Australia, you might have some company in the third hour. All right, now, you know what we're starting with. First of all, one other quick little thing that I got to tell you about today's show. Tim Geithner, in a world of trouble. A new story. No, he's teetering on the edge. The only problem is, nobody wants to take him out. I mean, he's the most incompetent, certainly secretary under Obama. I mean, you can't put him in the league of Don Rumsfeld. That's crazy. Okay, so there's been much worse secretaries in other administrations, but God, this guy, he just keeps screwing one thing up after another, and nobody will take him out. All right, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, the big story, of course. Barack Obama just gave a speech a little while ago on what went wrong with the underwear bomber. He is, of course, the guy that got on board in Nigeria, tried to come to Detroit, and had the bomb in his underwear. And Obama said that when the system fails, it is my responsibility. And on a number of occasions throughout the speech, he took complete responsibility for it. He said at the same time, there was no one specific person that screwed up and didn't do what they were supposed to do. It was a system-wide problem. But he went on to say that it's not that the problem was, oh, okay, there it is, this specific thing that we can put our hands around and say that's where it went wrong, that it was a series of human errors throughout the system, and that they would look to fix that as soon as possible. So, earlier, James Jones had said that the report coming out on this, and the report was then released after Obama's speech on what went wrong, was going to be shocking. So far, it doesn't really appear shocking. I mean, a series of human errors that are hard to pinpoint, it's not really shocking. Okay. So the main thing I got out of it so far, from what I could read, is that they acted a little too slowly. Yes, they are sharing intelligence, but they didn't share it quickly enough, and he didn't make it onto the watch list enough. I mean, again, in the speech, Obama said, hey, look, there is not a systematic problem with the watch list and how we do that. And there's no one person who was like, yeah, forget it, I'll leave this guy's name off the list. His name was misspelled on one list, but nonetheless, they should have made it onto another list, and that list should have gone onto the watch terror list. There are reports out now that the authorities were looking to interview him when he landed in Detroit. Now, you want to talk about too little, too late. Yeah, you see, he might not have landed in Detroit. So, obviously, there were some screw-ups here, but apparently there's no smoking gun of like, whoa, this thing in the system is totally wrong. Now, look, of course, people can go after Obama on this, and I think that that's, fair, okay, because thank God the bomb didn't work. If it had, that would have been 300 people dead and a plane gone down because the system didn't work, okay? Now, of course, those same people have to understand that this is the same exact system that Bush had in place, right? Now, this is not to go back and blame it on Bush, because Obama's been president for nearly a year now. It's on him, right? But it's not like he changed the system that was in place. Maybe he should have, and that's why it is ultimately definitely his responsibility. Now, we'll hear from O'Reilly, et cetera, about all the things that Obama did wrong, but how would torturing people help in this case? We should have put him on the watch list quicker. That doesn't really change the scenario at all. Now, one of the other criticisms of Obama was he's not saying that this is a war enough. We're in a war with terrorists, Islamic radicals, and he needs to say it more. And, it's a tiny thing. It's a minor thing, but it gnaws at me. During the speech, he said, quote, "We are at war. We are at war against al-Qaeda, and we will do whatever it takes to defeat them." It's a small concession to the right wing, and it's probably smart politics to say, hey, you know what? Okay, there, I said it's a war. Okay, now go away. You can't say that I haven't said it's a war anymore because it's in that speech, then we'll point it out to you, right? And so it's to me, I'm not a right-winger. I don't care about semantics and, you know, and word games and the political nonsense that they play. Oh, did you say terrorists? If you say the magic word, then there won't be any more terrorists. It's insanity, right? So he says it's a war. It's not that big a deal. I think the reason it gnaws at me is it's yet another concession. It's like, and I got to stop worrying about that because Obama's a politician. He's going to concede on so many things, and it should be that preferable that he concedes on nonsense like this. Who cares? Okay, he called it a war in the middle of a speech. No one will care. It will not affect a goddamn thing, right? It's just every time he bows his head in that direction, it drives me crazy. I'm just keeping it real with you and telling you my reaction to it, okay? All right, now, let's go to conservative reaction. Here comes Ed Koch. He is a cranky old dude from New York. He was, of course, the former mayor of New York on several occasions. Seemed like a likable old guy in the past. He's gotten a little bit more curmudgeonly since. Let's go to clip number 6 and find out what old friend Ed Koch thinks of Muslims.
Charles Krauthammer had a magnificent article, tough as nails, when he attacks the administration as thinking of it as a police action. This is not a police action. We're going to be at war for the next 30 years. We're afraid to call them Muslim Islamist terrorists. We'll call them anything but, because we don't want to alienate Muslim countries. That's ridiculous. Of course, the vast majority of Muslims, there are 1,400,000,000, are not terrorists, but there are hundreds of millions who are. They want to kill every Christian, every Jew, every Hindu who won't convert. And we ought to put it on the table. And when we put people through the lines, what do you want to take some little elderly woman who just came out of St. Patrick's and pat her down? Yeah, if you have time.
You're okay with, in this case, profile?
Absolutely. Charles.
I like to think I'm the little old woman. She's like, yeah, if I got time, I'm going to mess her up too, okay? But I don't have time. I got all these Muslims to hound. Okay, look, you know, we're kidding around, but what he said there was terrible. I mean, put everything else aside. He just claimed there were hundreds of millions of Muslim terrorists. Hundreds of millions? Where the hell did you get that number from, Koch? What he's saying is, look, I guess not every Muslim's a terrorist, but damn close. Now, look, here's what people don't get. You know, people say, okay, look, you got to understand, most of these guys are Muslims. So we are right to suspect Muslims. I get that, okay? It's not like, oh, I don't get it. I don't understand. Yeah, right. Look, that guy was a Muslim. The guy who did the Fort Hood shooting was a Muslim. The guys that did 9/11 are Muslims. Okay, it's not like that escapes us, right? The question is, what do you do with that information? And if there were, if Muslims were a tiny tribe on a Pacific island, you know, it might suck to, you know, single all of them out, and it might not be the right thing philosophically on principle, etc. But maybe you do it, and you do an extra search. Okay, there's 20,000 of them in the planet. Okay, we're going to do a little extra search on those 20,000, and we hate to nag them because 99% of them are probably innocent, but what can you do, right? But there are over 1 billion Muslims. Now, 99.999% of them are not terrorists, etc., etc. So, one, as a matter of being practical, I mean, there are hundreds of millions of Muslims in Indonesia, in Pakistan, in India, in Turkey, in Jordan. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to take all these people, and they can't travel anymore, or every time they travel, they have to go through extra process. Some say are patting them down. Some say strip search them at airports. All of them? It's like they don't get it. To them, it's something foreign. It's not like, hey, a Muslim is like somebody's grandma or somebody's mother or my mom or your grandmother, right? It's not personal for them. It's them. Muslims are some scary foreign thing, and I don't, you know, and they're the ones that do the bombings, so let's just go and discriminate against them. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah, okay, 1 billion of them are innocent. Who cares? Okay? You see the 10, 20, 100, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 of them are guilty, so let's go after over 1 billion of them. You can't do it. You can't do it on a practical level. You certainly shouldn't do it on a principle level. It's not right, man. And, it sickens me that we've gotten to the point where we have to explain this. Look, let me do one more thing so people hopefully understand a little bit better. There's over 1 billion Catholics in the world. Remember when the IRA was doing the bombings? And those were Catholic bombings. If at that point you had said, all right, you know what, that's it, Catholics are no good. Okay, they're suspects, and we need to strip search all Catholics in the world. Now in America, that would have never flown. I mean, and you say, hey, you know what, that's not right, because what does a Catholic in Italy have anything to do with what's going on in Ireland? Okay, first of all, I agree with you. And a Catholic would in Indonesia or in India or in Russia, wherever, is going to say, what the hell do I have to do with these guys? I don't like these guys. These guys wind up killing more Muslims than anyone else, right? So first of all, that's a problem. Then second of all, imagine if you said at the time, well, look, you're right. The Catholics in Norway or Italy, we got to leave them alone. They got nothing to do with this. But Irish Catholics, that's it. They're all targeted now. What would have happened in this country if we'd done that? People would have lost it. Lost it. There's no way Irish Catholics would have been targeted out and said, okay, yeah, that's it, man. They get extra scrutiny, man. Strip search all the Irish Catholics if you need to. The Kennedys are going through the airport. Come on, bring them in. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. You know it wouldn't have happened. But Muslim seems foreign. It seems strange, and people don't understand it. They can't relate to it. They apparently don't have any Muslim friends, so they think, sad day for them. Okay, let's target them. And look, here is problem number 3, which is that you're going to create more terrorists than you're going to alleviate. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you target Muslims and you say, America is now against Islam, we don't trust any of you, okay? We don't trust your grandmother, we don't trust your great sweet uncle, we don't trust any of you, right? And we're going to go through all this extra things and we got our eye on you, okay? Well, then Muslims are not going to trust you, and they're not going to like you, and it's still not going to affect 99% of them, but for that 1% that is susceptible to nonsense, to fundamentalism, there's going to be someone waiting there going, oh, you see that? You see how the Americans hate you. And you see how they're at war against Islam. Here, join the fight. We'll show you how to fight back. That's what we're trying to prevent. You don't want to create more terrorists. You don't want to give those fundamentalists an opportunity, a breeding ground to grab more people. These actions that are proposed by Ed Koch and all the other right-wingers are counterproductive. Listen, you got to understand. Okay, so look, people might say, hey, Jake, you're biased here because you were born Muslim, right? Born into a Muslim family, your family's Muslim, okay? First of all, you're right, okay? Because I know my mom's a sweet lady. My sister's lovely. My aunt is heavenly. They're not going to bomb anyone. And neither are my uncles, neither is my dad, neither is my cousins. I know, okay? So, but you don't know them, so you think, Muslims, right? That's point number 1. So you want to call me biased for that? Okay, I'm biased because I know that Muslims are just like everyone else, okay? Point number 2 is, look, we go on the planes. You think I want to take a plane with a fundamentalist Muslim with a bomb in his underwear? I don't want to go on that plane. I want to make sure they don't get that. They catch the guy and they don't waste their time making things counterproductive so that there are more of them. Look, no one's more against fundamentalist Islam than I am. I left Islam. I just don't believe it, right? Let alone fundamentalist Islam is madness. Madness, okay? Please stop making it worse. And what Ed Koch just said there makes it 100 times worse. All right, now, of course, he's not alone. There are many, many more where that came from. So let's stay on Fox News Channel. It's funny how a lot of these guests wind up popping up on Fox News. And let's go to Mike Gallagher. We're going to go to clip number 3 here. He's on with Fox and Friends. There's Katie McFarland and Christine Fair on with him as well. Let's start with a quick little clip here.
Let's look at the inevitable, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. How about let's scrutinize young Middle Eastern men?
We've got to start
Let's stop this. What happens on El Al Airlines, the airline run and operated by the State of Israel, if a Palestinian tries to board that flight? You think he goes through an extra degree of security? Let's do that with Muslims. Let's do that with anybody named Abdul or Mohammed or Ahmed. Let's take them and put them in a room and make sure they don't have explosives sewn into their underwear.
Okay, you're going to take 1 billion Muslims and put them in a room. Look, this isn't, El Al is a small airline serving a small country with a specific, what they consider to be an enemy there, right? You're talking about all Muslims in the world. And you're talking about American Airlines, all airlines doing this. I mean, on practical grounds alone, you're crazy. That's, I mean, then you're gonna grind things to a halt. Do you know how much more people you need to stop every Muslim in every airport? Okay, let alone that it appears that you have you don't hesitate one iota in saying, oh, let's discriminate against people. Who cares? Oh, so there's, a couple hundred or a couple of thousand of bad guys in that religion? Okay, as long as none of us are in that religion, yeah, let's discriminate. If it was the same for Christianity or for Jews, they would never, ever tolerate it. That would, if he had said, okay, imagine, is there a case of Jewish terrorism? Of course, right? Before the State of Israel, Irgun, et cetera, they were terrorist groups. They bombed hotels, et cetera, okay? I'm not judging it, whatever, right? But it's just the fact of what it was. If at the time they came out, well, at the time it might have been acceptable, and the right-wingers probably did say it. But imagine if that was today, and they're like, well, there's some Jewish terrorists. And by the way, are there still some? Yeah, about the one that killed the Israeli prime minister. That was a couple of decades ago, but not a couple, but a little while ago. But anyway, imagine if they said, oh, that's it. Put aside all the Jews. Let's take them in a room. Let's search them. Let's mark them. Let's make sure that the Jews don't do this anymore. You think that would fly? That probably wouldn't fly, right? But they're Muslims. If you didn't understand it, they're going to continue to make it a little bit more clear for you. Clip number 4.
So in profiling everyone, you run the risk of actually having a system that's unmanageable.
I tell you,
I'm not opposed to profiling, but the empirical demands are really more difficult than I think you appreciate.
Good point, but KT, there's only one group that's really declared war in America, and it's radical Islam.
And that's the problem.
They're not the crazy Catholic Aurelians.
From the very beginning of this administration, with announcing they're going to close Gitmo and release the prisoners, to trying the September 11th suicide bomber mastermind in civilian courts in New York, to now, where they read this guy with his Miranda rights, and they're going to put him in the court. They're treating this like a law enforcement
I've got
a war.
I've got an idea. How about let's profile the guy whose father already notified the authorities that my son is a radical terrorist? Hey, Christine, why don't we start with profiling him and telling him you might not be allowed to get on an airplane?
Mike,
are you kidding me?
But Mike, what you're saying is to any Muslim. Do you think we should profile any Muslim?
Disagreeing with that.
Yes, I think we ought to. I think we ought to do what El Al Airlines does. Ask anybody who knows El Al what they do with Palestinians who attempt to board El Al. We should take anybody who's a known Muslim and put them in a separate line. Call it a VIP line.
That is so preposterous.
No, it's not.
One-third of the world's population is Muslim.
A VIP line, Christine. Don't worry.
If you're going to treat every single Muslim in this way, it's simply untenable. It's unpractical. It's fear-mongering.
Who are you afraid of offending?
I have no problems offending anyone.
When the clips go, I try to take notes on all the things that they've said wrong, right? I ran out of time on that one. Okay, who are you afraid of offending? Al-Qaeda? No, you just said all known Muslims. All known Muslims. What does that mean? Who's unknown Muslim? Okay, all Muslims. You want to put them in a special line, in a special category. I remember the Germans had VIP lines for Jews, and that didn't work out well, right? And, oh, how could you say that? That's not fair. Oh, you can say any damn thing you like about Muslims, but okay, you put them in a different category, et cetera, et cetera. And then you compare all of them to Al-Qaeda. All of them. And he says, oh, you don't want to profile this guy from Nigeria. No, I do want to profile him. His dad came in and said, I think he's a radical. You see, that gives you a reason to put him on a watch list, as opposed to your dumb idea of, no, let's put 1 billion people on the watch list. Well, then the watch list is useless, you moron. And that Katie McFarland lady came in and said, oh, you see that? Obama came in and wanted to release all the prisoners. He never said that. It's not even vague. In fact, the problem is he wants to keep a lot of them in indefinite detention without ever even trying them. It's the exact opposite problem, right? And you know who released prisoners? George W. Bush. The guys in Yemen that were released from Guantanamo that are part of plotting against the United States, released by George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. She didn't tell you that, right? And then she said, oh, and they're treating this like a law enforcement matter. What does trying Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in New York have anything to do with this guy? Did he think, oh, well, if they're going to just try me in New York, well, then great, I'm in. He was willing to blow off his genitals. He doesn't care about whether you try him in New York or otherwise. He's willing to kill himself. They're so dumb. And then Kilmeade. Christine Fair is the only person from Georgetown University that made a good point there. She said it's not practical, right? And Kilmeade comes in and is like, oh, okay, good point. But, come on. Radical Islam's the only people who declared war against us. First of all, what the hell is radical Islam? I don't know what that is. I know what fundamentalism is. I know that some fundamentalists are violent. I don't like fundamentalism overall, whether it's Christianity, Islam, whatever. But I know not all fundamentalist Christians are violent, and I know not all fundamentalist Muslims are violent. But put that aside. Okay, you're against all fundamentalist Muslims. How do you know who they are? I mean, if you give me a list of, here are the people who have declared war against us, and they are violent. I'm in, put them on the watch list. I don't want them blowing up planes. I don't want them blowing up the plane I'm on. Okay? But we don't know who it is. So then you say, radical Islam declared war against us. So let's just go after all known Muslims. They're not done yet. Clip number 5.
There's a middle ground here. You don't have to do this to everybody who's a Muslim, but you do have to do some profiling. Napolitano's point is there are too many on this list. We can't figure it out. Put them on a separate list.
That's why we have computers. We're not just going to go through a...
You can do a Google search on this guy in 30 seconds.
No, but that's my point. It's like they're fighting against a straw man that doesn't exist. They pretend that liberals, right, don't want to profile anyone. No, the question is, what do you mean by profiling? If you mean profiling people who are on the list for a reason, their dad turned them in, they were in Yemen getting training from a guy we know is Al-Qaeda, etc. Of course you should do that profiling. That's what the watch list is all about, to find out who are the people against us. But they never make that distinction. If you notice, what they say is we should do some sort of profiling, and then Gallagher takes it and says, well, that means we should profile all Muslims. Okay? I don't know what McFarland means by a middle ground. If she means the middle ground is let's have a terror watch list, everyone agrees. If she means let's have a terror watch list and put all the Muslims or most of the Muslims on it, well, that makes no sense. Then your watch list is useless. But these people don't care about solving the problem. And they don't even care about terrorism. They care about finding an enemy and saying, that's it. Islam is our enemy. Muslims are our enemy. Everybody gets scared, and everybody attack the enemy. Because that's what right-wingers do. And, of course, as usual, it's counterproductive. And it's hurting all of us. So Tim Geithner says, look, I'm representing the people, and in my mind, I'm always thinking about the people first and not the bankers. He has said this on many occasions in different words. We have a new report out from Bloomberg News that seems to do some damage to that idea. Apparently, when he was at the New York Fed, the head of the New York Fed, Tim Geithner told AIG, listen, I'm going to take over and direct you to make payments to the top banks in the world, and we're going to pay them 100 cents on the dollar on these nonsense bets that you made, okay, that no other right-thinking person would pay 100 cents on the dollar for. In fact, they're worth very little to, depending on what the market valued it, and they didn't value it at very much at that point. Instead of taking the market value, we're going to pay complete amount of money for it, 100 cents on the dollar. Now, we knew that before, and that's part of the reason that I can't stand Tim Geithner and think that he absolutely butchered his job at the New York Fed and has done so at the Treasury as well. He took our money, taxpayer money, and funneled it over to the top banks in the world through AIG. Now, what do we find out from Bloomberg today? Well, it turns out he knew what he was doing was not so pretty, not necessarily the right thing to do. So he told AIG executives, do not disclose this information. In fact, they were going to do a public disclosure of where the money went, which makes sense, and the Fed came in and crossed out the lines on the money being funneled to the banks. They said, shush, we don't want anybody to know. Tim Geithner's doing a tremendous favor for Goldman Sachs and some other banks, including banks that are not based in the United States of America. Now, look, here are the AIG guys, and I can't believe the AIG guys are the ones that were trying to do the right thing. They say to the New York Fed, given the significance of the transaction, AIG would be best served by filing tomorrow. The better practice and better disclosure in this complex area is to file the agreements currently rather than to delay. Okay? And Geithner says, take it easy, man. Take it easy. We're going to let everybody know that I'm secretly funneling all this money over them for. No, we don't file now. And so how much did the decision cost us to pay 100 cents on the dollar on these bets that AIG made and lost to Goldman Sachs and other companies, right? Now, we've explained this scam before, but let me do a quick summary for you so you get a sense of what an unbelievable scam this is. Goldman Sachs puts together certain assets. They know those assets are terrible, right? How do we know that they know that they're terrible? Because as soon as they sell the assets, they go make a bet with AIG and say, I bet those suck. I bet they go under. And AIG's like, no way, you serious? But you put them together. All right, screw it, let's bet anyway. I'm not exaggerating, okay? I'm bringing it down to simpler terms. But that's literally what happened. They make bets on these things. And why was AIG so stupid that they made the bet with Goldman Sachs and the other banks, even though they're the ones, the banks are the ones that put together these assets so they know how bad they are? See, they didn't care. They cared about the commission. They cared about the percentage they were getting because that went into their bonuses. They took those bonuses. The guy that worked in the London office of AIG, I believe, made in the ballpark of $600 million. So he doesn't give a damn that those bets didn't work out. So then the bets don't work out because Goldman Sachs and the other banks have already rigged it so they won't. So then they come to AIG and go, pay me, right? But AIG made all these bets that they couldn't pay back, so they're gone. They're going under, right? So now those bets are nearly worthless because who are you going to get paid by? AIG is going to get bankrupt. Now, if you try to go and collect that money from somewhere else, you're going to get pennies on the dollar. But instead of having to deal with that on the market, your friend Tim Geithner at the New York Fed steps in and says, no. I'm going to handle these negotiations for AIG. Negotiations. And the bankers want 100 cents on the dollar, and I will negotiate so that they get 100 cents on the dollar. Now, how much did that cost us? The difference between the market value and what Geithner paid. At least $13 billion. At least $13 billion from us, taxpayer money. That went to the top banks who made those toxic assets in the first place. And they profited 100% off them exactly as they planned because their friend Tim Geithner helped them to do that. Now, if the man, and then knowing what's happened here, Geithner then covers it up and instructs AIG specifically, do not reveal this information. Now, that information came out later. Of course, it was eventually bound to come out. But, given enough time, the crime is already committed. What are you going to do, get the money back from Goldman Sachs and all those other companies? No, you're not going to get it back. And that's what they care about the most. Now, given all of this, why? Why is this guy still hired? Why is this guy still the Treasury Secretary? And then Obama wonders, scratches his head, gee, why do people think that I'm not for them? Oh, I don't get it. Because your Treasury Secretary is part and parcel of funneling our money to the top bankers in the world who are now back to making record bonuses when the rest of us are getting killed out here. If you are so disconnected from the American people that you can't understand that, well, then you deserve the political trouble that you're in. Now, some Democrats and progressives and liberals drive me crazy. The guy who uncovered this through information requests is Darrell Issa, who's a Republican of California. I don't agree with Issa on almost anything else, okay? But here, he obviously did the right thing. I mean, and I don't care what his purposes are. I don't care, oh, he wanted to damage the president. Who cares? He got something that is true. And when a Republican actually attacks on something that has merit, I'll take it and run, okay? It's unbelievable. But some Democrats and liberals say, no, we can't support that. That was by a Republican. I don't give a damn, man. I don't care if Beelzebub walked in with the information. Is the information accurate or is it not accurate? Okay, it is accurate. He's right. Geithner's got to go. Geithner's got to go. Come on. Come on. And so if Obama cries those crocodile tears about, oh, why don't the people understand I'm for them? Because I hate to break it to you, you're not for them. Because the guys that you've hired to run your economic team have no interest in the American people. Their main interest is protecting the banks. Now, I don't want to be unfair. I don't want, look, Geithner's not some evil guy who's like, I will help the banks and crush the American people, right? No, in his mind, he thinks, well, look, if I help the banks, I help the country. Because the banks are such an important part of the economy, and then that trickles down to the people eventually. Am I going to keep track of whether it gets to the people? Kind of. The main thing is keep the banks safe. But that's the wrong priorities, because he's been living in that world almost his entire career. So, and all of his top advisors are from the top banks. We have the record of his calls. All he does is call the top bankers. Gee, what should I do, Jamie Dimon? I'll give you more money. Okay, great. So he's in the wrong bubble. Whether he's well-intended or not, and I don't suspect that he has evil intentions or anything, he's making the wrong decisions because he's got the wrong priorities. The priority of Tim Geithner in his mind is protect the banks at all costs and protect these particular executives. And those are the priorities that are destroying our country, our economy, etc. I don't want to get overly, dramatic on it, but but we saw what happened to the economy. Those are the guys who literally, I mean, if you listen to Geithner and you listen to Summers and you listen to Obama, you listen to Paulson, you listen to all those guys, they say the global economy was going to collapse. And those are the guys who created, those are the guys that Geithner is protecting and helping and funneling more of our money to. No, can't have it. If you don't fire him over this, let alone the 28 other things we pointed out on this show, well then you're telling us that you care more about the bankers than us. And that's a very, very bad sign. So, if you ask me why do you get frustrated with Obama, I mean, this is part and parcel of it. You take a guy who's exactly part of the establishment, like Geithner and like Summers. Summers is the guy who did the deregulation in the first place. I mean, I've said this before. Us outside of Bob Rubin, who was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton, but maybe even including him, you cannot find two Democrats that are more responsible for the economic collapse than Tim Geithner and Larry Summers. That's literal. There are not two Democrats in the whole country who are more responsible for it. And those are the two guys in charge of Obama's economic team. Unacceptable, inexcusable. If you're a Democrat or a progressive or a liberal or whatever you want to call yourself, and you don't attack Obama over that, one, you don't really care about your country. You care more about your own party, and that's sad. Okay, and number two, you also don't know what you're doing politically. You think, oh yeah, no, I'll protect the president. Protect him, but this isn't protecting him. What, American people aren't going to catch on to this? You think the Republicans aren't eventually going to beat them over the head with this? I mean, I told you yesterday, the reason that they haven't, gone ballistic against Geithner so far is because they also are in league with the bankers, and they don't want to hurt their banker friends, right? I mean, so think about what gets momentum, right? So Issa points this out, and he's a Republican, so give him credit, and I give him credit, okay? And I'm glad he did it, right? And there are a couple other Republicans, Chuck Grassley and then Roy Blunt of Missouri, who are beginning to go on a warpath a little bit on this. But why isn't Fox News doing this 24/7? Because, if they get something, Reverend Wright, whatever it is, it could be the tiniest thing. Bill Ayers, okay, Napolitano said the wrong words, 24/7, until it becomes a major, major, major issue. Curiously, Fox, not all over this. Gee, I wonder why. Because they're all part of the same corporate America establishment, and that part they want to protect, and they won't go after Obama on that. And until it's election time, Roy Blunt wants to win the seat in Missouri. So is he going to, I was going to say demagogue, but this isn't really demagoguing. Is he going to campaign on it? Probably. And when the elections come around, they'll beat you over the head with this thing. And by that time, if you still haven't fired Geithner, you'll have earned it and deserved it. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. All right, let's give you slightly more depressing news. Yesterday, we told you that once Chris Dodd steps down, the guy who might take over is Tim Johnson, Democrat of South Dakota, in the Banking Committee. The Banking Committee, of course, absolutely pivotal committee on financial reform, certainly, and on many other issues. You know, when I was away, they had a great article in the Huffington Post on this, and let me just mention that too, real quick, before we get to Tim Johnson. It was about how the Banking Committee on the House side works. And what the Democrats do is they stuff the committee with new Democrats that are in more conservative districts. And so they're more in danger, they're more likely to get toppled over and have a Republican take their seat. And the reason they put them on the Banking Committee is that's where you get the money. So that's where the bankers and everybody else pours in the money to your campaign. So they want to strengthen those conservative Democrats by getting them more money. That's why they put them on the Banking Committee. The problem is when you go to do financial reform, they've stuffed the committee with so-called conservative Democrats who are taking money from the bankers, so then you don't get any reform. And they keep voting with the Republicans to vote down reform packages. Okay, so you see how the Democrats are compromising the executive branch, as we explained in the last segment with Geithner, etc. You see how they're compromising the House. Now let's go over to the Senate side. Tim Johnson might take over for Chris Dodd in the Banking Committee. And here are what some consumer advocates say about Tim Johnson. He's got a long track record of supporting small predatory loan companies, payday loan companies. So there's one longtime consumer advocate. And another one says, it may exist, but I can't think of a single instance in my 10 years when Tim Johnson has supported a consumer protection in the financial services arena. Actually, I can't think of a single instance where he hasn't opposed a consumer protection reform. Although I'm sure such an instance must exist. In every single instance, Tim Johnson sides with the financial industry. Now, this is not just the thoughts of some consumer advocates who would know best because they're in that field. It's a matter of record. For example, in the credit card bill, when we were doing credit card reform, you know how the credit card companies are killing us with random, oh, okay, you know, your interest rate was 14.9, now it's 23.9. What are you going to do about it? Nothing, right? And the late fees, the fees that you didn't ask for, on and on it goes. We all know about the abuses. So one of the few good things the Democrats did was they put together a bill to curtail those abuses. Now, I would have gone further with the bill, but hey, I'll take it, okay? I'm a reasonable man. I'm pragmatic. I'll take it, and we'll hopefully build on it, right? Who was the one Democrat that voted against it? Tim Johnson. Look, and he supports the credit card companies partly because they're in his state and also partly because they give him a tremendous amount of money. The financial industry gives Tim Johnson 20% of all of his campaign contributions. And then the payday lenders, a lot of them, some of the top ones are from his home state of South Dakota. And so those are the guys. He goes and speaks at their conventions. He was in 2006, he was the keynote speaker at the annual payday lender conventions. Those payday lenders are some of the worst in the industry. Their interest rates can equal up to 1,000% per year. Tim Johnson is their keynote speaker. You think that guy's going to do financial reform? Look, the only slight upside with him is that he's not as much in bed with the larger banks as he is with the credit card companies, some of which are the larger banks, by the way, of course, and these payday lenders. And he's even a part of supporting the Online Lenders Association, okay, alliance, I should say. Those are the guys that are basically running internet scams. Okay, these are the shadiest guys in the financial industry. Now, look, if he goes and kicks the big banks' asses, because those guys are 100 times more relevant, and he takes it easy on these guys, I can live with it. But you think he's going to do that? He's not going to do that. Okay? He's never voted for reform. He's never going to vote for reform. Having this guy as the head of the committee is a disaster. Now, is there something that could be done about it? Of course. He doesn't have to be the head of the committee. He has seniority, but the majority leader decides. Now, if Harry Reid was a strong majority leader and he actually cared about reform, he'd say, oh, no, Tim. Look, I know. Look, that's how you get elected in South Dakota, and you're a Democrat, and you're part of our team. I get it. I'm on board. You just sit there in your spot and keep collecting that money. But I'm not letting you be chair. No way. I'd take someone else, maybe Jack Reed of Rhode Island. I mean, anybody else, and put him as someone who cares to do reform as the head of that committee. Do you think Harry Reid will do that? If you think yes, you don't know Harry Reid at all, okay? Oh, you know what? Here, look, I got one more quick quote about Tim Johnson. Everyone is very nervous about it because he's definitely very, very pro-industry. As irritating as Dodd can be, carrying their water for years, he's better than Johnson. Enjoy your new Democratic leadership. We're in so much trouble. Oh, by the way, they then asked, this was also done by Huffington Post. This was done by Ryan Grimm, right? And he went and talked to all these people. And he, of course, being a reporter, he asked Johnson's staff to give him a quote on this as well. I mean, respond to these charges. They didn't really respond. They gave a long quote about, yeah, look, we represent everybody, and some people are consumers and some people are in the industry group. But, it goes on and on. But one last line in it I thought was pretty indicative. Senator Johnson is more inclined than many to work with both sides of the aisle, consumer groups and industry, to find common ground. If you don't get it, those are code words for he ain't going to do a damn thing. He ain't going to do reform. He's going to work with the other side of the aisle and industry groups to find common ground. You know what common ground means? We don't do a damn thing. Okay? That's what it means. Yesterday, this is one of the things I was going to brag to you about. Yesterday, we told you Dorgan and Dodd are stepping down, and I said, look, Dodd stepping down might be a problem because of Tim Johnson, among other things, but at least they'll probably keep a seat in Connecticut at least. Dodd was in some electoral trouble. The people who are going to run instead of him as Democrats in Connecticut are likely to win, okay? So at least you keep the seats in Democratic hands. And sometimes, look, Democrats in the Northeast can be excellent. Sheldon Whitehouse replaces Chafee, who was a Republican in Rhode Island, and he's done what appears to be an outstanding job on most fronts, okay? Now, when it comes to Dorgan, well, that is more likely to go to a Republican in his state, but not definitely. Given this current environment, it leans the Republican. Let's put it that way, okay? But I talked about one of the downsides of Dorgan leaving might be that he might be more inclined to vote the wrong way now before he leaves, because he would then go get lobbyist money, right? Now, and what did I tell you? I said that one issue that Dorgan's really bad on is global warming because he's embedded with the energy industry. So then today, when Dorgan is asked, hey, what are you going to do in your retirement? You going to go to Disneyland? He gave this quote. I would like to do some teaching and would also like to work on energy policy in the private sector. You know what that means? That means cha-ching. It's going to be an energy lobbyist. Okay. So now they got this great scam worked out, too. Senators theoretically are supposed to have a 2-year window in which they can't be a lobbyist. So then he won't be a lobbyist. He'll do what Daschle does. Oh, I'm working for this company. Yeah, they do lobbying, but I don't do lobbying for them. I'm just a consultant that sits there and collects millions of dollars to consult them. Of course he's doing lobbying. Now, they're a little tougher on the staffers, right? And the staffers have a year window where they can't do lobbying, but the staffers don't get hired as consultants as much as the top dogs do while they wait out the year, right? So, you know what a lot of the staffers for Dodd and Dorgan are doing now? Pull the chute. Pull the chute. Because who cares? We might pass financial reform, healthcare reform. That's not the point. The point is to get the lobbyist money, right? So now if their bosses are going to step aside, what they're doing is they're quitting now, or a lot of them are beginning to quit now, so they could fill out that year quicker, so then they could go hurry up and become lobbyists. Look, the reason I spent a lot of time pointing that out to you is because this is part and parcel of how we get screwed. Because all these guys, the senators and the congressmen and everybody that works for them, their eye is on the prize. And the prize is not legislative victory. The prize is not necessarily reform. The prize is, once I get out of here, I'm going to make cash as a lobbyist. Now, you think those guys are going to screw over the industry? You think that they're not going to be in bed with the lobbyists that are going to hire them a couple years from now? Of course they're not. No, they're on their side. And you can see it now with the Dodd and Dorgan people running to the doors. Give me the money, give me the money. Now, look, I don't want to be unfair. It's not everybody that works on the Hill, and a lot of people that go work on the Hill are great guys, mean well, et cetera, right? and they go there because they love politics and they want to do, get real change in the country, etc. Okay, but a lot of them, and we've given you the numbers on past shows, a very large majority of them are looking one day to get that lobbyist money. And Dorgan, as good as he is on other issues, and he's been an absolute hero on other issues, will go and become an energy lobbyist, as he tells you here, and will make a lot of money making sure that we do not solve global warming. So, enjoy. There's a campaign by, I think, Progressive Change Campaign Committee to get Dorgan to stay in the Senate. And they're sending very nice quotes from his constituents saying, please stay in the Senate. Well, that's a good idea, because if he stays in the Senate, he won't have as much incentive to sell out to the lobbyists as he does now. But overall, don't get too, dreamy-eyed about Dorgan. He's coming to screw you a little later. Look, I'm keeping it real, and I like the guy on a lot of other fronts. Okay. All right. Now let's go from Democrats that are detached from their constituents and detached from real people to Republicans who are. And we start with Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh is going to answer a question about what happened to him with his health care scare in Hawaii from a caller. And what he says in response is a little amazing. But understand this context. Rush Limbaugh apparently pays out of pocket for any expenses that he has. And, obviously he had that scare in Hawaii. He went to the emergency room. He held a press conference afterwards saying about, you see this, I got the best care in the world here. Yeah, I know, Rush, because you are a multi-millionaire. Yes, if you make $50 million a year, you get excellent care in this country. But he says, no, anybody can get it. Now, listen to his answer and see if this really applies to you. Let's go to clip number 9.
Let me tackle first in order the things that you've said here. You've said that the treatment I got would bankrupt you, and you guessed that the treatment cost $40,000.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. It did not cost anywhere near $40,000.
Okay.
It cost less. It didn't even cost half what the average SUV owned by the average American family is.
Right.
Jesus.
Now, you say that the average working man couldn't come up with a payment plan, couldn't afford this.
Right.
Because of the American lifestyle. You got to have your mortgage, you got to have a car, you got to have this and that. And then you say, then you say that this is why liberals are for health care, because they're competitive. What you're saying is you want me and other citizens to pay for your health care that you don't want to have to pay for. Who do you think is going to pay for it if you don't?
But you're paying for it anyway by the people who are not insured anyway. The premiums that you're paying, or if you had a traditional...
I don't pay premiums. I purposely opt out of the health insurance system because of my own proclivities. I just don't want to be involved in a bureaucracy. I have no desire to have a government bureaucrat in the state or an insurance company bureaucrat getting in the way between my doctor. Now, I know I'm very lucky in this, but it's something I've worked for.
Yeah, but there's only...
And that we could get to... No, it used to be that way for everybody in this country, Fred. It used to be until liberals got involved in this. When I was a kid, went to the doctor, they sent a bill. Hospital sent a bill. Medicare, Medicaid come into play, all this, the government creating HMOs, thank you, Ted Kennedy, prices start to skyrocket. There's no reason this had to happen. And there's no reason we can't go back to the way it was.
Oh, there were a couple of gems in there. It was just a half of the price of an average SUV. Oh, that's all? I mean, what are we talking about, average SUV? $30,000, $40,000? Okay, what is that? Half of the price makes it $50,000 to $20,000. Who has $15,000 to $20,000 to give to a hospital if you felt a little chest pain and you went in? But this guy, he's living in La La Land. He has no idea. $15,000 to $20,000? Who's got that lying around? Hey, says you got $15,000 to $20,000 lying around? JR, you got $15,000 to $20,000 lying around?
I'm not telling you about it.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay. 15 to 20. What? It's just half the price of your average SUV. What's the big deal? Man, you think he's one of you? You think he's for the common guy? He has no idea what the common guy's dealing with. That's why he says half the things he says on his show. He just if you notice in the second half of that, he was like, who's going to pay for it? Me? I don't want to pay for you. I only make $50 million a year. I'm not paying for you. No, Rush, you missed the whole point of insurance. We all pay into a fund, okay, and if we need it, then we get out of that fund. That's how insurance works. And as the caller pointed out, we're all paying in anyway, and those guys who don't have insurance are getting out all that money from their emergency room care, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if we all get insurance, that's the mandate, that's the upside of the mandate, right? Then we all pay into it and then take it out when we need it. That's how insurance works. Now, Rush doesn't use insurance. Why? Because of his proclivities. Oh, yeah, you don't care, but you don't want the bureaucrats. Dude, I see you, man. We all see you. He doesn't want any records of all the crazy stuff he's doing. You think he wants the bureaucrats? Okay, he doesn't want anybody knowing all the pills he's taking. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. Look, put aside speculation about why he got, sick or had a pill panic or whatever it is, right, over in Hawaii, because it wasn't his heart. And they say it's not his heart now, right? But we know in the past he was a drug addict. He says it. He says, yeah, I confess, I took hundreds of pills a day. Okay, you think he wanted that in his medical records? No. That's why he pays. And he's, a multimillionaire, so he can do it. So he pays out of his pocket and goes, $15,000, $20,000. Who cares? What difference does it make? And he's like, I remember the old days when Doc would come in and he'd give us an apple, and that was fine before the Democrats came in. You listen, you moron. Okay, back in the day, people died because we didn't know how to treat cancer. So the doc would come in with an apple and a saw, right? And then, you got a problem with your leg. And they saw it off, okay? And yeah, you could pay for them because the saw doesn't cost that much, right? Now we do chemotherapy, we do cancer, etc. We don't have $15,000, $150,000, $1.5 million lying around to pay for that, okay? Now, it's a good thing. We save a lot more lives with that treatment. That's why we pay into insurance, and then if we need it, we get it out. But Rush doesn't want any part of that because he's got his own money, and all he cares about is protecting his own money. You're coming after my money. I don't want to pay for it. And I don't want you knowing what I'm doing. Him pretending he's for the common man is the biggest joke there is. And if that didn't show it to you, nothing will. Then you're blinded by it. All right. Should I do one more? No, let's save it. We got some fun clips for you for Fox and from Chris Matthews going after a Republican when we return. Young Turks. Thanks for watching the video podcast. Of course, if you go on our website, theyoungturks.com, you can get the whole 3-hour show.
Plus an uncensored post-game show.
That's if you become a member on theyoungturks.com.